How often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they're speaking to you directly?
Often. I'm not even gonna lie, I almost zoned out when you were asking me that question.
Spot on. Spot on. Welcome back. We're your host, Savannah.
And Kaylin.
And we're gonna do something a little different today, a little more chill since we've had a rough past month. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have Kaylin take an ADHD test, and it's
Yeah.
like an official test. Basically, I mean, as official as it gets.
Self-diagnosis.
And if you want to tell while I grab the test, if you want to say, or do you have the test, or do I need to get it?
No, you
I'll
need
get
to
it.
do it.
If you want to explain a little bit, I guess, about like your background and why you think you might
Yes.
have it.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty positive, like 99% sure.
Mhm.
Just like literally all the symptoms of ADHD, I pretty much check all the boxes.
Yeah.
Like day-to-day task,
Mhm.
being very scatterbrained,
Mhm.
um having, like, they say if you have ADHD, like, caffeine will do the opposite effect for you.
Yes.
Definitely
Right.
feel that. I've never been officially diagnosed, but I've also never seen a therapist, so that's gonna change this year.
Love that for you.
Yeah. But yeah,
Okay,
there's a
great.
lot of reasons I feel like I am, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
Okay. So this is from Mental Health America, and we'll go ahead
Okay.
and link this in our description for anyone else that wants to take it.
Yeah.
It's their ADHD test. So it says, please, these are the instructions. Please answer the questions below, rating yourself on each of the criteria shown. As you answer each question, select the button, or I will select the button, that best describes how you have felt and conducted yourself over the past 6 months. So there's
Okay.
going to be a few questions, and this is kind of how it goes. The answer. It's kind of going to be on a scale. So you're going to have never, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. Do you know what I'm saying? So like you have
Kinda like
never
job
and
interviews
very
or
often, and
job.
it's sandwiched in the middle. I'll
Yeah.
repeat it if you want, because it's a lot to remember.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, number 1. How often do you have trouble wrapping up the final details of a project once the challenging parts have been done? And I'll say
Hmm.
never, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often.
I'll say sometimes.
Okay, fair. Number 2. How often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have to do a task that requires organization?
All the time.
So very often
Or
or
very
often?
often.
Okay.
Um, let's do often
Okay.
because I feel like I can be great at it, but if it's something that's complicated,
Yeah.
I I like take a very long time. Like it takes me just as long to get things organized first than it does for me to do the whole fucking thing.
Me too. I feel like for me, the hardest part is just getting started half the
Yeah.
time. Like, if I have a
Yes.
big project or something that I'm not looking forward to and I'm overwhelmed about,
Yeah.
I'll just procrastinate and procrastinate and
Yep.
procrastinate.
And once I get the first stuff going and the hard stuff's out of the way, then the rest I'm just like boom, 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 let's get it done.
Exactly.
You know?
Number 3. How often do you have problems remembering appointments or obligations?
All the time.
So very often again or
Very
often?
often. Let's do very
Same.
often for that one.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Number 4, when you have a task that requires a lot of thought, how often do you avoid or delay getting started?
Very often.
Yeah, same. Number 5, how often do you fidget or squirm with your hands or feet when you have to sit down for a
Very
long
I'm
time?
literally going like this as we're doing this.
I am playing with this cord right now. I feel like it's
Very often.
Number 6, how often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor?
I'm gonna go with often.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not very often, but when it happens, it's extreme, you know? Like,
but we talk about you getting into, like, your manic moods, and then it's like,
yes, manic
you're just
Mondays.
like, "Go, go, go."
Yeah,
You're like, "Go, go, go, get this done, get this done."
seriously.
Number 7, how often do you make careless mistakes when you have to work on a boring or difficult project?
Um, Sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I feel like even though I probably have ADHD, I'm still like very detail oriented for the most part. And I'm also like a perfectionist. So I think that
Same.
plays into it.
I
I like
kind of,
to
like,
triple
harbor
check.
on things. Yeah.
Yeah. Like literally, even if I'm sending a text to you or to my husband
Yeah.
or something, I typically I will reread it like 2 times and correct anything and then send it. Like that's just how I am.
Yeah.
Number 8, how often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing boring or repetitive work?
Often.
Gotcha. Same. Number 9, how often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they're speaking to you directly?
Often. I'm not even gonna lie, I almost zoned out when you were asking me that question.
Spot on. Spot on. Oh, goodness. Um,
I
that
was thinking about something else.
Ricky has the same problem though. It's so bad.
It's
We
not
because
on
he ha
purpose.
my husband does have ADHD, an actual diagnosis. He's
Yeah.
had it since he was like a kid. And his is like more hyperactive and mine is more non-hyperactive, if that makes sense. Like I don't really have the
Yeah.
hyperactive. Sometimes I do, but not really. And I will literally be talking to him and like telling him a story. And in the middle of my story, he will bust out singing or like something so random. And I will stop and I will look at him and I'll be like, and just wait until he stops. And then he'll eventually realize and be like, sorry, what were you saying? He's so funny. I
I
cannot.
won't do it out loud, but my brain, I got about 5 seconds before it's like, "Oh, shit, did I check that roast that I put in the crock pot? Oh, shit. Do I gotta do
Honestly,
this? Did I remember to send this email?" Like,
that's mostly why I try to be as engaging as possible when I'm reading Reddit stories because I'm like, I gotta
me
keep this bitch's
too!
attention.
Bitch, I zone out reading.
Next question. How often, oh, this is a good one. How often do you misplace or have difficulty finding things at
All
home
the
or at work?
time, all the time.
What were
If
you looking
there's
for
a
earlier?
I don't multiple things. I
Your
was
witch
looking for my
hat.
bra, I was looking for my witch hat.
So what do you say that's often or very often?
Very often. If there
Same.
was an option higher than very often, I would choose that one.
Same. I lose shit like there is no tomorrow. Even Ricky is
Literally.
like, "How do you?" I misplaced my wedding rings. I misplaced my mug.
I'm
I misplaced
horrible.
my phone, my keys, my wallet, my everything. It's insane.
Yep.
Anyway, how often are you distracted by activity or noise around you?
Often. Maybe not
Okay.
very often, but often. I can zone out if I need to, but if I'm, like, already overstimulated or something, like,
Mhm. Same. How often do you leave your seat in meetings or other situations in which you are expected to remain seating?
never.
How often do you feel restless or fidgety?
Often.
Yes.
Not not very often because sometimes I'm, like, very lazy, but
Yeah.
then, like, sometimes I'm just like, "I need to do something and I don't know what I wanna do."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or even when you're just, like, sitting down, like, for me right now, I'm moving
Yeah,
my legs, like, kicking my legs.
yeah.
Like, I always have to be doing, like,
I'm
something,
always
and
doing something with my hands. Always.
yes. I never noticed that about me until I took this test, and then I had to sit and I was like, "Wait a second," during every work meeting I've done, every podcast episode I filmed, I literally sit here at this desk and I twiddle with something in my hands,
Yeah.
something. How often do you have difficulty unwinding and relaxing when you have time to yourself?
That's a hard one because relaxing
Whispering.
in my eyes is different than, like, some
Yeah,
people. Like,
yeah,
relaxing in my eyes is like laying down and editing videos, so I'm like,
yeah,
I would say wait, how often do I have difficulty? I would say
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, makes sense. How often do you oh, there's only a few more questions, by the way.
That's
How
cool.
often do you find yourself talking too much when you are in social situations?
All the time, very often.
I'm not laughing
Especially
for any reason.
put me in a room with someone who's socially awkward and doesn't talk, and oh my god, I feel like
Yes.
I have to fill that gap.
Yes. Dude, I do that
Yeah,
too. Oh my god. Sometimes it just depends. Like if I'm with other people who are more extroverted than me, like for
exactly, then
example,
I'll be
I feel like
okay.
when I'm with you and we're hanging out with someone
You're
else or with
literally just
Mo.
like,
Yep. But when it's just us two or like me by myself or something or with certain people, I'm
you by
kind of like,
yourself, you be
"Oh."
talking to yourself.
Like my job, like my old
Yeah,
job, they thought I was like super extroverted. And I'm
yeah,
like, "No, I'm an introvert, like
yeah,
100%. I just can present as extroverted, I think, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
When you're in a conversation, how often do you find yourself finishing the sentences of the people you're talking to before they can finish them themselves?
I'm stuck between sometimes and often.
That's I'm gonna say often.
Okay,
Just
so
because
often.
we talk a lot and I just
I
know,
do it
like,
with Alicia, I do it with Lana, I do it with a lot of people, so, yeah, let me say often. I've been trying so hard
um
not to do that too, because I hate when people do it to me,
mm.
especially when they try to finish my sentence and they're wrong, and it's not what I was gonna say. I'm like, "No, if you would let me fucking talk."
If you just let me finish.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 2 more questions. How
Okay.
often do you have difficulty waiting your turn in situations where talking is required?
Often. Ve often, very often. I'm gonna say
Or
often. I've
just
gotten better.
I read it wrong. How often do you have difficulty waiting your turn in situations when turn taking is required? And that could apply to talking, but it could
Oh,
also apply to other things, I think.
so I'm gonna say sometimes,
Yeah.
because it depends on what it is. If I'm presenting to a class or something, bitch, I can wait.
Not
I
me.
can
I'd
wait
rather
all
just get
day.
it over with. I wanna do it, like, right then and there. Like,
That's
seriously.
true. That's
For
true,
me,
anxiety there.
I don't know about you, but for me yeah, it must be my anxiety, but the longer I
Yeah.
wait, the more nervous I get.
Yeah, that's kinda
But
how
if
I
I
am
can just
too.
do it right off the bat, I'm like, whatever, you know?
At least it's over with, yeah.
Exactly. How often do you interrupt others when they are busy? It's kind of a weird question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I really interrupt people when they're busy. Imma say sometimes,
Okay,
because I feel
and
like
that's the
sometimes
last
that's
one.
needed. Not
This
me
is the
trying to
last
justify
one.
myself every question.
No, you're good. Oh my god. It does say very interesting, it does say that the source for this quiz, it says it's the adult ADHD self-report scale.
Oh.
And, the World Health it's from the World Health Organization, so it's been validated for adults as well as adolescents ages 13 and up.
Oh,
So,
cool.
interesting. I think this is as legit as it gets for, like, online
Yeah,
self-diagnosis.
yeah.
Okay, it's
It's not like a
trying
Facebook quiz or something.
no, it's trying to get me to type in demographic, I think I can skip it. Yes. Your results, ADHD likely. Your overall score is a 6 out of 6. So, that
So,
means that
that means I
you
definitely have ADHD, what the fuck?
yeah, and it says inattention, 8 out of 9. Hyperactivity and impulsivity, 6 out of 10.
Okay, that sounds about accurate, though.
Yeah, it says your results indicate that you are experiencing some signs of ADHD. These results are not meant to be a diagnosis. You can meet with a doctor or therapist to get a diagnosis and/or access therapy or medications. Anyway,
And
I
then
should
you
have
said you did it too, right? And it came out basically the same?
I forgot my result. I'm gonna do it real quick again.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do it real quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
Take another test. ADHD. They have a bunch of tests on there, by the way, like
Oh,
bipolar,
cool.
anxiety, like all kinds of stuff.
I
So
already
this
know I have anxiety, I don't even need a fucking test to tell me
same.
that.
I don't need a test for that shit. Okay. How often do you have trouble wrapping up the final details? Very often. Very often. Very often. Like some of these first few questions I do almost every day. Like it's really bad. When you have a task that requires a lot
Yeah,
of thought, how often do you avoid getting started?
they need to
Often.
have, like, a no shit option.
Yeah, right? Sometimes sometimes, often. How often you have difficulty even when they're speaking to you directly? Sometimes. I feel like I'm pretty good at listening to people.
Yeah, you're
I
way
don't
better
think
at
I
listening than I am. You are.
Well, thank you. How often do you misplace or have very often. How often
Yeah.
are you distracted by activity or noise around you? That's a hard one because I feel like I can concentrate
I
even,
feel
like,
like
when it's
you get
noisy. But I get
not
I
whenever we're
get
podcasting.
no, I get overstimulated and, like,
Yeah.
distracted and stuff, so you're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I'd say sometimes. Do you
Yeah,
think that's fair?
sometimes.
How often do you leave your seat in meetings? Like, never.
Never.
I have too much anxiety to do shit like
Bitch,
that.
I barely leave my seat all day.
How often do you feel restless or fidgety? I'd say it's hard because I think it's really if I'm just, like, doing something like this, like filming the podcast and, like, sitting down
Yeah,
consecutively for a long time.
or
So I'm
watching a
just gonna
movie or
say
something.
yeah, I'll just say sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes
How
sounds about accurate.
often do you have difficulty unwinding and relaxing? Rarely.
You're
I
like,
have
"Bitch,
no
I'm
problem
ready."
being lazy and relaxing.
Well,
How
for me, like, I
often
have a hard time, like, laying down to go to bed, so I count
I
that. That's why
don't
I said sometimes. Yeah,
I don't
you're
at
like
all.
30 seconds, I'm out.
I'm out. I am out. How often do you find yourself talking too much when you're in social situations? Honestly, what do you think for that one for me? I feel like I do it
I feel like you should
depends.
say sometimes.
I think I could talk way too much if I'm, like, super uncomfortable or super it just depends. I don't
Yeah,
know. When you're in a
I know.
conversation, how often do you find yourself finishing the sentences of people you're talking to before they can finish them themselves? What do you think?
You don't really do that
I feel like that's
much.
a rarely, right?
Yeah,
How often do you have difficulty waiting your turn? Very often. I'll just say often.
yeah,
How often do you interrupt others when they're busy? Sometimes,
yeah.
not very often.
That is
Okay,
such a weird question.
so weird. All right, let me skip demographics, view results. Wow, mine's lower than you.
I'm not surprised.
You got so your total score, you got a 6 out of 6, and I got a 5 out of 6. And oh,
Oh,
this
okay.
makes so much sense. Okay. So inattention, I got a 7 out of 9. And hyperactivity and impulsivity, I only got a 3 out of 9.
Uh,
Like the hyperactivity.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause I feel like that only, like, comes
I
in
feel like I'm
sometimes.
definitely way more even, like, if you watch back our podcast, you'll be
Yeah.
sitting here and you'll be, like, paying attention, and I'm like this.
Oh, see,
Like,
but
spin right
I
into
look like I am because I know I'm on camera, but underneath the camera, I'm,
You're
like,
like
tapping my leg, I'm sitting in my chair, I'm messing with my hair, I'm looking at myself. No, trust me,
yeah.
girl, and you're gonna see a lot of that when you're editing this episode, I tell you what. I just want real quick before we wrap up, I wanted to just say the different types of ADHD in case no one knows,
Yeah.
because I didn't know there were different kinds. I thought ADHD just meant you were super hyperactive all the time. I didn't
Yeah,
know
no.
what it, like, really meant. Honestly, my whole life, I just thought I was lazy. But I procrastinate because I probably have ADHD, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay, so the first kind is hyperactive impulsive type. It's the least common type. Ricky definitely has this type.
yeah.
It also tends to be the most visible. This type presents the symptoms of hyperactivity and impulsivity without symptoms of inattention. Someone
Mm,
living with this type of ADHD may feel restless and fidget frequently. They also may find it difficult to be patient and wait their turn or wait for directions. They may act impulsively without thinking and interrupt others. Some other symptoms are like excessive tapping, difficulty sitting still, interrupting others, always on the go, moves around constantly, needs immediate rewards, making decisions before considering long-term consequences. I feel like I do that sometimes though.
I do that all the time. I'm very, like, impulsive.
I know, but so am I. I could be a little
Yeah.
impulsive.
I
Like,
didn't
remember
ask
that day
any
we both
fucking questions about that.
I know, like, what the heck? The next kind is the inattentive type ADHD. These people experience mainly the inattentive symptoms. These include lack of focus and being distracted without symptoms of hyperactivity and impulsivity. This one often goes undiagnosed because it's not as noticeable or disruptive as the hyperactivity impulsive type. Makes sense. For
Yes.
example, Children with hyperactive impulsive type may interrupt in class, making their symptoms hard to ignore. But children with inattentive type may look like they're daydreaming a lot. That was me growing up. It's still
Me
me.
too. I feel like that's Lana
Um,
too, in a way.
oh, this is interesting. It says this type is also more common in girls. And it's part of
Oh.
the reason that many girls living with ADHD are underdiagnosed.
Hmm.
Wow. Here's just a few other symptoms real quick. This is 100% me though. They may become easily distracted. They also may have trouble staying organized, following directions, remembering daily activities and routines. 100% me. Often fails to give close attention or makes careless mistakes. Often has trouble holding attention. Avoid or dislikes tasks that require sustained mental effort. Often easily distracted. Often forgets daily tasks such as chores or errands. Therefore, why I think I'm lazy. Often
Why I
losing things
can't keep
needed
shit
for
clean.
huh?
Why, like, I've always wanted to be that type. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, but I always wanted to be
Okay.
that type where it's like everything's always spotless because I
Me
constantly pick
too.
after myself. And I don't I
Yes.
try like I'll be good for like a week,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it
Me
takes so
too.
much work for me to consciously be like, pick this up, pick this up, pick this up.
Yes. It's
I hate
hard.
it.
It's so hard for me. And I even like vulnerable moments since we're in the mental health section. I literally had like a breakdown like a week or so ago because I
Mhm.
told Ricky I was like I'm so sorry. I feel like a failure as a wife. And like
Aw.
I know that I don't know, a little sappy, but I know that like not everyone follows all gender roles, like traditional roles, and we don't all the time. But for the majority, like it's just what we naturally fall into because of our personalities. And I don't know, just the way I grew up and everything, and like I
Yeah,
guess I from like the cult and the church and everything, like it's very traditional. You know, the woman is stays at home and she does the cooking, the cleaning, takes care of the home. The man goes
yeah,
off and works and makes money. But I don't know. I felt like a complete failure because like I struggle so hard keeping the house clean. I struggle with cooking. I love cooking. It's so fun to me, but it's just getting up and actually doing it.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
not, being tired enough to, like, clean the mess afterwards or, like I mean, Ricky helps usually, but still, it's a lot. And it's
yeah.
especially hard when you have a married couple that probably both have ADHD, but different kinds.
Yeah.
It's
At least you
very
have different
hard.
kinds, though. Imagine if you both
Yeah,
had the same
I
kind.
know. I know. I feel like we balance each other out a little bit,
I feel like
but,
it's like the true definition of opposites attract.
literally. But the
Like,
last sign for the inattentive one, which I really relate to, and I think you will too,
yeah,
often losing things needed for tasks like school papers, keys, wallet, phone, etc.
literally all of the above.
And then the most common type of ADHD is the combined type. It includes both.
Hmm.
It says someone living with combined type may experience forgetting daily tasks, such as chores, and being easily distracted, in addition to feeling restless, talking excessively, and/or feeling impatient.
Oh, that's me. That's literally me.
I feel like in my armchair diagnosis, I feel like you have combined, and I feel like I have an attentive with every
Yeah,
once in a
yeah,
while, depending on my mood or what's going on, some hyperactivity or impulsivity like thrown in there. So,
yeah.
yeah,
That's kinda how I feel about myself too, because, like, I feel like I'm only impatient when I can't find shit.
right.
I'll be like, "Where the fuck are my keys?" Like like,
I
I get easily pissed, and I'm like,
Me too, yeah.
"I can't fucking find it." But then,
That
like, at
that
the same
sigh that you
time, I'm
do that sigh
yeah.
that you do is like your trademark when you're like, "Ugh."
Yana gets it from me. She does the same thing, and I get onto her, and then I have to check myself because 'cause I'm like, "Where do you think she gets it from?"
Yeah.
Like, literally. But then I'm, like, so calm in serious
Right.
situations
Right.
and, like, logical. So, I don't know. It's my brain is really fucking weird.
Same. Everyone's is. That's what
Yeah.
makes you unique. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed that little test. We're gonna
Yeah.
link it in the description so you guys, if you're interested or if you think you may have a form of ADHD, just test it out for yourself. And if you
Yeah.
think you might have it, I would highly suggest, going to some kind of therapist or
Yep.
psychologist, just to, get things checked out and see if you can, get on any medication or just do something to make your
Yep.
life a little bit easier.
Yep.
So Yeah.
In our episode 9, when we had Dr. Tanya,
Mhm.
very amazing psychiatrist on, she gave us a bunch of resources, so that is linked in that description if you wanna check it out. Just a little
Totally.
plug there.
Totally. So, you ready to wrap things up then?
I'm ready. No shadow work
Alright.
questions today, sorry guys, we love you so much, but, our ADHD prevented us from
Yeah,
remembering.
literally. And our ADHD is gonna help us close out. Bye,
Yeah, bye.
guys. Hyperactive.